Welcome back, Budget Gamer fans. Today I've got a really interesting indie game for you. If you think the title Ambition of the Slime seems ominous and strange, just wait till you actually get into the gameplay. Ambition of the Slimes plays just like it sounds. You play as a group full of slimes in a tactics-based adventure game where you're attempting to take back the country, confronting peasants, wizards, knights, and what have you until you get to your final objective. Though the story of the game is never actually made explicitly clear, at least not until the end, it does build up and unfold through encounter dialogue and the actual progression of the levels. In the initial encounters with villagers, staged initially in the mandatory tutorial, they're shocked that slimes would even be willing to approach them, because they're so weak and really can't do anything in a fight. But little do they realize, these slimes are on a mission. Not only are they on a mission, they have ambition, and they're willing to take over these villagers, using their bodies as hosts to combat their way through the countryside. Though you can engage in combat with the slimes themselves, their HP and stats and defense are actually really low, so they might be able to take a hit from a basic character, but would really easily be wiped out by anything with some actual strength. But as each of the slimes has different characteristics and even different element types, as do all of the opponent players, the tactics aspect of this game is actually really involved. The three elements that are used in the game, fire, water, and plant, are used to base disadvantages and advantages in combat, but there's an added tactical level when you consider the slime's abilities. If a slime was to take over a host of the same elemental type, it actually gets a massive bonus. Though the elemental information can be seen along with HP and all of the characters or enemy characters' battle statistics, when attempting to possess an enemy character, if the slime is actually of the same type, right next to the percentage bar, which lets you know the likelihood of actually taking this character, a small heart will appear. So this percentage window, as well as the little heart icon and several other aspects of the game, were actually developed really well in order to let the player have a very rich tactical experience without having to labor over and constantly reference manuals or characteristics and traits. Traits and characteristics, though, are something that this game has a wealth of. Though I have already played Ambition of the Slimes for a few hours and even made it a few towns into the third map, looking at the collections menu in the options screen really made me realize how much more there is to this game. Individual slimes themselves are classified in C through S categories because some have really amazing advantages, like being able to fly over water or teleport anywhere on the map in any move. But those two characters are only B rank, so I really can't imagine what an S ranked slime would be able to do. Every time you beat a level, regardless of the difficulty level you play it at, the storyline advances. But not only that, you have a slight percentage of gaining a new slime into your party. The better the slime, the lower percentage, but you can replay levels again and again and again. This will level up the slimes you have and possibly get you more of the better types that you have access to. In the third map, when you reach Girl Village, the entire village has actually been cut off and surrounded by a moat. And though some of the actual overarching storyline is depicted here, the real element of note here is that you have to have slimes that are capable of teleporting or getting across that moat in some way, shape, or form. Otherwise, you won't be able to battle and the level is impassable. Though this could be thought to stifle game progression, it's actually the first time in the game where you're actually forced to think, should I replay levels to get more slimes or avoid this level and try and advance anyway? And I really didn't expect a player choice element to actually be in a game like this. As I've mentioned earlier, elements of an overarching story seem to unfold with every encounter. But even though the lack of a story is generally a major critique for a game, the incredibly comical dialogue and just strangeness makes a player actually want to keep playing. Now, it is goofy and it is weird and there's a lack of a story and the dialogue is just off the wall, but other than the incredibly slow-paced mandatory tutorial, there's really not much I can say wrong with this game as far as an actual tactics game goes. In handheld mode, the graphics are obscenely gorgeous and they're very smooth. But in docked mode, the graphics do expand and it looks more like a DS. But even then, being a pixelated tactics game, that's not really a big deal. The music is actually pretty decent. It has a broad variety for each of the levels you play through, and while it's not symphonic, it's definitely not abrasive. One of the only real critiques for Ambition of the Slimes, other than wishing I had some sort of inkling about what was actually going on as far as the story is concerned, is actually the controls. Now, while you can get used to them, if you are a fan of Nintendo consoles or play them more routinely than other consoles like PlayStation or Xbox, having the B button be your selector and the A button being the cancel function really did mess me up for a long time. It probably took me 20 minutes or so to actually just get used to using the B to select and the A to cancel. But after my brain snapped back into PlayStation mode, even though I was holding a Nintendo console, everything worked out pretty intuitively. And there's absolutely no penalty for failing or restarting a mission, so even though some of the learning curves might be a little more steep than others, it's really not that big a deal. I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised surprised, even if a little bit weirded out by this game, because I'd run into so many tactics-based indie games recently that just really couldn't cut it. And somehow this goofball of a slime tactics game actually pulled through. I gotta say, for the price, there's really nothing I can be upset about. Well, that wraps up the review for Ambition of the Slimes. If you're a fan of tactics-based games, definitely give this one a try, but please, please, please hold off any judgment until you actually finish the tutorial, because as soon as you get the option to set the gameplay into fast mode, it really does have a Final Fantasy Tactics kind of feel as far as the game mechanics are concerned. Well, I hope this review was helpful for anyone who is looking for a new tactics game or just a new indie to try out. And if you enjoyed the review, give it a thumbs up and feel free to leave any comments you might have below. I put out these reviews 2 or 3 times a week, so subscribe if you enjoy the content, and don't forget to hit that little bell icon so you get notified as soon as I hit YouTube. Anyway, this has been Budget Gamer, and as always, thanks for watching.